So, belts in WWE do not change hands as much as they once used to. However, a big reason for that is because a lot of them will change hands at WrestleMania 41. So now we're going to sit down with our bald heads, unless you're not bald, and we're going to figure out, coming out the other side of WrestleMania, who the flub's going to be the champion. Because don't forget as well, if WrestleMania counts as sort of the end of WWE season, which makes no sense because wrestling never stops and it never will do, then this is almost like discussing a brand new year for WWE. It's like the tax year, right? The tax year runs from April through to March, and obviously you have a calendar year that runs January to February, and I suppose by happenstance, WWE would run April to March. It's a stupid thing I've ever said, but the point is this: if you are expecting a new champion, it's probably going to be at WrestleMania 41, so let us start with some brand new championships, notably the WWE Women's US title. Because I do think that one is going to change hands. I am convinced that we are going to do Chelsea Green versus Piper Niven, although WWE has put themselves in a little bit of a predicament here. Because I think when they first started teasing this break, and of course this does mean they could change direction at some point if they feel like they are backing themselves into a corner. But when we started doing all the teasing at the Royal Rumble and sort of Chelsea ignoring Piper in backstage skits, I would have thought that Piper eventually turns babyface and then she beats Chelsea Green at WrestleMania. But if we have seen over the last, when did she win it? December. So the last 2 months or so, Chelsea Green is just becoming one of the biggest baby faces in the company because everybody loves her, and rightfully so. She is incredibly entertaining. With that said, I still think you should do the storyline. I still think you should ride it all the way through to WrestleMania. And I do think Piper Niven should walk away with that championship because it is a brand new title. Everything with Meechin has been fine, but I want more championship feuds actually have some personal narration stuck into them as well, because that's what WWE has done so well over the last couple of years, like the Cody Rhodes stuff, the Rhea Ripley stuff, I suppose, with Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. I just think it adds an extra edge to it. Not Adam Copeland, he went to AEW to become the Cope. But again, you may actually be giving it to a bad guy, but I don't think it's necessarily a problem. And also, WWE's been really good recently with having a plan and mostly sticking to it and not deviating unless they really have to. So you'd have to see where it's going to go. But again, it is February the 10th, 2025. So I do want to make some predictions. And I do indeed think that come the day after WrestleMania, Piper Niven will be the Women's US Champion. And we will jump over to the men's. This one I cannot believe we're not going to do. This is going to rhyme as well, although I ruined it now by adding extra words, but it's going to be Jacob Fatu. Because I think by WrestleMania, Shinsuke Nakamura would have lost that belt back to LA Knight. Although where we're going to do that at the moment, I don't know. Shinsuke Nakamura doesn't even turn up to TV. But given all the seeds we have planted between LA Knight and Jacob Fatu, that's the match I think we should do at WrestleMania. Unless we are going to pivot here too and do Drew McIntyre versus LA Knight, given recent proceedings. I think it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, the only risky business with it is that LA Knight is then winning championships and losing them rather quickly. Given how over and popular he is, I think that's a risky business. So maybe somebody else will fill in there. I just don't think Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jacob Fatu is as interesting of a matchup at WrestleMania. And I feel bad saying that because I'm a huge Shinsuke Nakamura fan. But that's just the lay of the land, right? That's just the situation that we find ourselves in. So I would push pause on it for now because it feels like Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu are going to finish their feud, but then sort of towards the end of April, or wherever it will be, I mean, probably in March after the Elimination Chamber, which still gives us a good 6 weeks, because don't forget we pushed WrestleMania back a week. I would get deep down and dirty into that feud, and I just think, given how over Jacob Fatu is, given how hard he's been pushed, and given how well he's been doing, he probably has to become a champion. The main world title scene is just too packed at the moment, so you've got to wait for that to card out a little bit, so in the meantime, you make him a super duper whooper mega superstar, and you give him a title, and it doesn't seem like he's going to move to Raw. And also, I don't really want him in the Raw picture at the moment because that would be Bron Breakker. And I think you hold that feud off until you are at the World Championship level. So yes, coming out of WrestleMania 41, the Men's US Championship, I'm giving it to Jacob. Now, of course, you can't change all the championships at WrestleMania because if you do that, all of a sudden it feels like we're falling into a pattern, which is a massive aside, is why I think WWE could do more title changes on TV or just like on a random Tuesday in June, which wouldn't be possible because there are no WWE shows other than NXT. But my point is this: the Women's Intercontinental Champion post-WrestleMania, I think is going to be Lyra Valkyria. Because I do believe that when Becky Lynch returns, and maybe by the time you've seen this video, she already has, she is going to reignite her feud with Lyra Valkyria, which she was essentially on the back end of when she did leave. I mean, not really. She'd won the Raw Women's Championship just shortly after that. But I think you can tell the story. I think that they will have great matches because they've always had great matches. And hopefully what this will do is not only make that Women's IC Championship feel like it is more important because you have the star of somebody like Becky Lynch involved, but Becky Lynch losing at WrestleMania, and having Lyra Valkyria win really puts Lyra Valkyria on a pedestal to move into whatever position she needs to. Because at the moment, I mean, let's just face it, she won it. It was a really cool moment, a good match. I enjoyed it. She was then in a video the week after that. She then wasn't on Raw. She went into the Royal Rumble, and then she was in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match. Now, I get it. I understand. These are still important positions to be in. But all of a sudden, within a month, it was like, do you care about that Intercontinental title? Because you kind of seem focused on anything else but that within the realms of the story, within the realms of kayfabe, as we say in the modern day. But I just like the idea of it. I'm not 100% sure who else Becky Lynch feuds with, although again, there are a bunch of women out there that probably do need matches for WrestleMania. But I just like it. Again, you have the callback. They're going to have a good match, and it allows Lyra hopefully to have a great 2025 because she's a really good professional wrestler, Lyra Valkyria, and I don't know what WWE wants to do. But if Chelsea Green, for example, is going to be the US Championship, you know you're going to get more sports entertainment with that. So Lyra can be the old school workers champion, which is what the IC belt used to be anyway. I just think it makes it a nice mix, and it gives you a reason to watch Raw, and it gives you a reason to watch SmackDown, and also it's a bit like Bayley versus Io Sky from WrestleMania 40. Was 40, right? Yes, it was. Sometimes you just want to sit down, look to your friend, and be like, man, this one's going to be a banger. Point is, Women's IC Champion, post-WrestleMania 41, Lyra retains. And I think it'd be a totally different story with the Men's Intercontinental Championship because we should do Sheamus versus Bron Breakker round 472. I don't mind that. I do not get bored of these two fighting. I'm sure eventually I would reach my limit, but it hasn't happened yet. And I would have Sheamus said, this is it. This is the end. I either win the IC Championship or I never fight for it again, no matter who's holding it. And of course, Sheamus beats Bron Breakker and he completes his dream, which is essentially winning every single accolade that WWE has to offer. And I'm sorry, that is so damn cool. And yet more evidence that Sheamus is massively underrated. And I know, some people are like, oh, we can't do that to Bron because he lost his IC Championship to Sami Zayn in sort of similar circumstances, but not really. Not to Sami Zayn, to Jey Uso. But I think he's held it long enough on this second run. I think Bron Breakker has established himself enough now. I don't think people would mind this. I think you only get mad when someone loses a championship if the person beating them is the wrong person, according to you, or it happens at the wrong time. Like sometimes we actually do have to do title changes faster than we're planning because you look out into the people in the audience, you can feel their energy, and it would be wrong to ignore it. And while I'm sure there's somewhere it's like, I don't want Sheamus to win the IC title, I think they would probably be in the minority just because he's come of age, right? He's got to that level where we just love him, and he's made such a big ordeal about how much he wants to win this. I just think now is the time to do it. Don't wait to WrestleMania 42. You could certainly do it at SummerSlam because it's going to be a 2-night event, so the WWE is going to go hard there. But he doesn't have to hold it for a long time. Meaning come hot WrestleMania, which of course will go down in August, Bron Breakker probably could have won it back by then because all Sheamus needs to do is tick the box and then go and have these ridiculous hard-hitting matches he has with anybody. They don't need to be for titles. They can be with upcoming NXT guys or whoever it may be. I just want Sheamus to have it again on the biggest stage, and you're not going to get a bigger stage in 2025 than WrestleMania. It'll also make you feel good. It'll also put a smile on your face. It will also be slap bang in the middle of either Saturday night or Sunday night, and you need that. It has to be a roller coaster because you know the shows are going to be long. So I'm confident. I'm finally going to say it. Sheamus leads WrestleMania 41 as the IC champ. Now, the Raw Tag Team belts are super interesting, but I think the reason we are being very patient with them, to use a nice word, on Monday nights is because we are eventually moving to the War Raiders versus the New Day, and at WrestleMania, the New Day will finally win these titles. I love their heel turn in December. We've talked about this a lot. I don't think it's necessarily been capitalized on the way that I expected. Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston have been super entertaining, but they didn't win a match for 2 months, or whatever it was. Just felt a little bit elongated. But again, now they are doing tag team matches again. We are heading in a specific direction. And probably coming out of the Elimination Chamber, they should probably win a number one contender match and say, hey, Eric, hey, Ivar, we want to take you on at WrestleMania. Eric and Ivar then need to win a bunch of matches. I think they defended it once, which was against the Judgment Day, who were the former champions, I should say. And you don't want to fall back into what we did with Finn Balor and JD McDonough. I love those guys, super, super talented workers. But you want to make sure that champions feel like champions because they are actually putting their belts up for grabs. But I just think the rest of 2025 should be Woods and Kofi with these belts being the biggest assholes on the planet. They should be awful. They should be terrible. They should make you hate them. And not in a fun way. It should be like, why are you so disgusting? And then we can all obviously be ecstatic when eventually they do lose the titles. And maybe by that point, if they do hold it for 8 months, even if Big E isn't cleared, maybe he can be the person that costs them. It's going to get a massive pop. It's going to make you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. But I just think setting it up at WrestleMania is the best way to do it because Also, tying back to other things we've talked about, you don't just want it to be face win, face win, face win, face win. Overall, you do at WrestleMania, because that's the point. It's meant to be the ultimate feel-good show. But you can sneak in a few heels winning there, especially because you know the Tag Team Championship matches aren't going to be in the main event. So I feel good about this one as well. I want it because I'm a supporter of chaos, but I think the New Day leave as the champ. Even though there are about 4,000 teams on SmackDown that are going for the tag team titles, I think this one is hard as well. I do think it's going to be some sort of a four-way. I would presume with DIY, the Machine Guns, Los Garzas, or Pretty Deadly, and the Street Profits, so maybe a five-way. Maybe it even becomes a ladder match, because WWE likes to do that. But there was a video for the new and improved Street Profits on the SmackDown from the previous Friday that I'm recording this video, and it was really good. They had attitude, they seemed mad, they were pissed off. Montez Ford did something about violence being televised. I can't remember now. But if that's not the planting of the seeds for them to win those titles back and then go on to be super dominant champs, or at least be presented in a way we haven't seen them before, I don't know what we're doing. It also feels like B-Fab has spun away from them to join in with Meech in the women's division, which is great because she deserves more opportunities. But you are moving all of these goalposts and you are giving them a bit of a shake-up. I think they absolutely should win the championships. And if you do this five-way match at WrestleMania, they should just go crazy and really be like, man, look how good we are right now. Because, I mean, this is actually the benefit of all those teams. So, you know, you could apply it to any of them. But Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, even separately, are really good. So together, they're like the Power Rangers when they put their rings together. So this one, I am not confident about at all, mostly because I can't figure out the direction of where SmackDown is going. Maybe a brand new team is going to be put together. I mean, on Raw, we were teasing Pete Dunne and Ludwig Kaiser doing something. Could they jump over to SmackDown? It randomly happens all the time, even though the transfer window has closed. But I can't not say a name. That'd be ridiculous. So I'm going with the Street Profits. I think the women's tag team belts are going to be slightly obvious too, but it's not going to be them changing hands. I think Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez will beat Bianca Belair and Naomi long before WrestleMania. Well, not long before, but a few weeks before WrestleMania. They shall then probably take on, once again, a bunch of other women teams in a multiple-person match. But when they leave, I think Raquel and Liv are still going to have these titles. And I'm all down for that because I do not want the women's tag team championships to vanish like they did in 2023. The latter part of 2024 was quite good, and the Jade Cargill stuff sort of upended them a little bit, but at least they still got featured. And Liv Morgan has become a great character over the last 12 months. So if she has the title and we give her TV time, she will keep them relevant. And Raquel Rodriguez still has all the potential in the world. And I like their pairing and I like their relationship. So who the flub they fight, I don't know. But thankfully, that's not the idea of this video. It's not a predictions video in that sense. It's just to decide again from April onwards who are going to be the champions. I think it will be Liv and Raquel. I think we should line up challenger after challenger after challenger and let them be sort of dominant. Like Liv can't go back into the world title scene for a while, although she should do eventually. And also, if you do allow them to be absolute badasses, come November, December, January, February, or maybe even linking into WrestleMania 42, you can look at the lay of the land and say, oh, Liv's a bit more than a babyface than Raquel or vice versa. Then you start to tease the breakup, and then you can do that match at WrestleMania. I get that wrestling does this all of the time, but when you are patient with it, it can work. That's why wrestling always goes back to it. So, yes, Liv and Raquel leave WrestleMania with the championships. Just to give you predictions you didn't need, maybe they have a match at WrestleMania 42. Which moves us on to, I suppose, the big belts, if we could call it that. And we'll start with the SmackDown Women's Championship. People are getting so mad at me. But look, I want to make sure we can revisit this video in a couple of months and I can feel smug because I have nothing else in my life. I think Charlotte Flair is going to walk away with it. And yes, that means Tiffany Stratton is going to lose. Now, that's why it irks people, and I totally understand. But I am thinking of the bigger picture here, because WWE very nicely over the last couple of years has allowed me to believe in the bigger picture. I think it's going to be a three-match feud. You have to have a surprise victory at some point, otherwise it doesn't work. So Charlotte Flair should capitalize on her Royal Rumble win and beat Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania. She can cheat. I'm pretty sure she's going to be a mega heel. Then you do another match at, I don't know, one of the pay-per-views in between that and SummerSlam, which Tiffany wins, and then you do the super duper whooper mega match, probably with a stipulation at Hot WrestleMania, maybe depending on the matches you can put it in the main event. Tiffany Stratton wins. She puts Charlotte Flair to bed, not literally, because that would be weird. Nobody needs to see that kind of matchup. And then by that point, she'll be an even bigger over babyface than she is now. That should be the point of the program, and for the rest of the year, you can ride that way. Like, as long as Tiffany Stratton comes out the other side, feeling like a bigger star, looking like a bigger star, getting the more organic cheers than she already does now, I don't know, getting more attention on social social media. You know what I'm talking about? As long as we can sort of notch her up a few levels, which is always the plan with people that you are putting titles on, I don't think it matters that she can lose at WrestleMania 41. The only time it ever matters if we don't have a long-term plan, and that doesn't seem to be what WWE is doing at the moment. So I can see the worth in it. I think that it kind of justifies Charlotte's return, and also it benefits Tiffany Stratton, which again, she's the new up-and-coming star that we should get behind. So once again, we've got to make some bold predictions here. I'm giving it to the Queen, and I can already see you down there in the comments. And we'll jump over to the men's. We'll have some fun with it, because of course that would be the WWE title, which I imagine will be the main event on Sunday night. And I do not think that Cody Rhodes is losing that championship. But this all comes down to the fact that I think John Cena is going to win the Elimination Chamber. He's going to try for number 17, but he's not going to get it. And eventually he will be able to win it from whoever is the champion in December. But I was thinking about this, and Cody not losing at WrestleMania is way more interesting. Because then you go, well, who the hell is he going to feud with now? Maybe that's why we're holding off the Randy Orton thing. Maybe do something with Sami Zayn. I don't know. Or Drew McIntyre, right? He's already declared that he wants to go after Cody at some point. But I think I don't say you're on borrowed time, because Cody could hold that belt for another year and I think they'd get away with it because he's so damn good. But just because we would be entering really long title reign again, I almost think our tum-tums would kick in. We'd be like, he's got to lose it eventually. He's got to lose it eventually. And if he does have feuds with the Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, these are people that could be world champion at some point, especially when we move away from WrestleMania. And I actually think almost by happenstance, you will create that jeopardy you need when you watch a match that Cody Rhodes may lose his championship. So I don't think you should do it at WrestleMania. I also think it's a way better story for John Cena to be sad John Cena and need to find that oomph again as he does build himself up. But he could even win Money in the Bank and say, man, here's the date, here's the time. Controversial. But again, you can do whatever you want. But no, I don't think Cody Rhodes is going to lose his title, which is super interesting because you've kind of got a WrestleMania 39 situation with even more asterisks all over the place. Because Cody would have to celebrate. John Cena would have to look like, man, I'm so depressed about all of this. So you kind of get a happy ending, but you don't get a happy ending. Does it mean Cody gets a few boos? Does he sort of turn heel for people that are in love with John Cena? We don't know. I love the nuance, though, and I love the depth, and I talked about this before. Some people are like, you cannot put Cody Rhodes in a position where he may get booed. Of course you can. Cody Rhodes is a professional. He knows what he's doing. And if he is getting some legitimate boos from people because he beat John Cena, that's wonderful. It makes him a way more interesting character. And one of the best things about the main event scene in WWE, like Seth Rollins and CM Punk and Roman Reigns and what they do, is that they're not really good guys or bad guys. In fact, sometimes they can be super dickheads, but then you hear them talk and you go, oh man, I see where you're coming from. And then you can decide on that given day, do I want to be a fan of them or do I want to put them on the heel side? So anyway, long-winded way of saying, I'm going to give it to Cody Rhodes. I'll be intrigued to see what you think. And just to balance all of that out too, I think Rhea Ripley will keep that Raw Championship. I still think she's going to be facing Io Sky, and I think it'll be a great match. There are rumors that it's going to be Bianca Belair, which I do not mind, because flub me sideways. I need that one day, given what they have done before. But Rhea only won it back in January. Rhea's another person in 2025 that's going to become massive. I think you should try and build Rhea and Tiffany up so big that when they did clash on a WrestleMania, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's what we're going to do. So Io Sky she can beat, Bianca Belair she can beat, don't get me wrong. That's no disparity to those two. They should also get mega pushes because they're so damn talented. You could do a feud between Io and Bianca and would rock. But I don't think it is going to change hands, and that's mostly because on the Raw side, of course, I think it will be Jey Uso versus Gunther. There's no way. Well, there is a big way, because again, we did it at WrestleMania 39. I would have told you the same thing about Cody Rhodes. But I just think all things considered, and given that it's probably not going to be the actual main event, although you could put it in the night one main event slot for sure, I wouldn't mind. But I think Jey Uso does beat Gunther, and it's going to be one of the best WrestleMania moments ever. You can have 65,000 people plus, like we did at the Royal Rumble, doing the hands, doing the yeet. You're going to have hundreds of people online getting really mad. Oh, he's just an entrance and a catchphrase, but it's not going to matter because he is going to be the world champion. And then I think on both brands, you got something quite fun, right? Because you still got Cody, but you have somebody new in Charlotte. And on Raw, you still got Rhea, but you've got somebody new in Jay. That's sort of the other reason why maybe Charlotte does have to win. So we've got babyface champ, babyface champ, babyface champ, heel champ. It doesn't matter, right? As long as the stories work. So even if John Cena won there, he'd be a babyface champ. Gunther could retain, and he would be a heel. But also, Io Sky and Bianca Belair, and there's something I haven't seen yet. It's going to happen. They be baby faces too, and that to me just justifies Charlotte even more. But the point is this: Jey Uso is a lightning in the bottle moment. No one saw this coming, and fair play to WWE to capitalize on it. I do want the story to end, our favorite new term, because then it means the next time somebody gets over, we can be like, oh my gosh, maybe it is going to happen. And it doesn't actually matter if it does or doesn't. It's going to plant those seeds where you do expect it. As a man that's watched a lot of wrestling over the last 20 years, believe you me, there was a huge 2-decade period where you knew that was never going to happen, and it was of detriment to wrestling, because that's the best bit about it. As long as everybody agrees, you can do whatever the flub you want. Now listen, more important than all of this, I need to know, who do you think is going to come out the other end of WrestleMania with those titles? Drop me a comment below before liking the video, sharing the video, subscribing, click the notification bell. I've also predicted the entire WrestleMania card before it makes sense, which you can click and see right now. Otherwise, if you are into fitness, go to grillermind.com/Simon and use code Simon to get 10% off. Follow me on social media, Simon316. Same with TikTok at Simon J. Miller, Simon Miller on Cameo at ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller, or Big Cartel for your pro wrestling t-shirts from me, which I also appreciate everybody buying as and when you do. I'm also wrestling all across the world. You can get all that information on my social media, so come and say hi in person. Otherwise, take care, my friends, and I'll see you soon.